very special episode of Sustainable Is Attainable. This is a campaign that Network 18 along with Tata Powers has been going on for the last few months. We have a very special guest today. He is very integral to India's growth story. Amitabh Kant is the Sherpa of G20 and former CEO of Niti Aayog. Mr. Kant, really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Sir, Budget 2023, which has been presented by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, puts a lot of emphasis on infrastructure and green growth. Do you think we have a roadmap ready for the targets that have been set for that is the net zero targets for 2030 and 2070?
Yeah. So, one of the critical perspective is that, India's growth story has just begun. And in the next few years, we'll be doing a huge amount of urbanization. We'll be creating vast number of roads, railway network, all this. And the government's emphasis is that we should drive green growth, which is what was emphasized in the budget. And also, our objective is that we should be amongst the first few countries in the world to industrialize without carbonizing the world. We have not occupied the carbon space available at 1.5 degrees centigrade, 2,800 gigatons. 88% of the utilized space, which is 2,400 gigatons, has all been occupied by the developed world. We've occupied only 1.5%, whereas on a per capita basis, we should be occupying about 18.5%. But irrespective of that, India was the first country amongst all G20s to achieve its NDC targets 9 years ahead of schedule. We are also ranked in the Climate Performance Index as the only G20 country to be in the top 10. We are committed to a complete energy transition, which comes out very clearly in the Prime Minister's Panchamrit, which he announced at Glasgow, and the commitment which he made in Paris. And we are committed to fully ensuring that India transits towards a green economy.
Since you talked about NDC targets, it has already been achieved, and perhaps we are ahead of what has been the real planning of the government. Green hydrogen mission, the PLI for solar and battery storage. This is all about pushing mobility. My question is, where is India fitting in this very, very competitive manufacturing hub, and also how do you make it more cost effective?
Yeah. So first, let's look at the electricity sector. That is moving from in electricity towards renewable. We've been able to do about 172 gigawatt of renewables. We've been able to record absolutely low prices, which is 0.02 kilowatt per hour, which is amongst the lowest in the world. But even if we do 100% electricity as renewables, that will be 20% of our energy. Electricity is 20% of energy. The balance 80% is all what we term as hard-to-abate sectors. That is, you use fossil fuel in refineries, in fertilizer, in cement, in steel, in long-distance transport. And we need to decarbonize all that. That is important. And that is why the government came out with Green Hydrogen Mission. And Green Hydrogen Mission is using the renewable that we produce to crack water and produce green hydrogen. And green hydrogen is the way forward to be able to decarbonize all these hard-to-abate sectors. So that balance 80% hard-to-abate is critical. But the budget has laid a lot of emphasis on a number of things. It provided 35,000 crores for this transition in vast range of sectors of petroleum, etc. It provided allocation of 27,000 crores for evacuation grid from Ladakh, which has huge potential for renewable, and its evacuation and grid for that. It has laid a huge emphasis on circular economy, for instance. It has laid a massive emphasis on production-linked incentive for batteries, for electric mobility, many other areas. So what you need to look at is when you're doing this kind of a transition in totality, and that is that you need to get into sunrise areas of growth, which is ensuring that your transportation sectors goes electric mobile, your two-wheelers, three-wheelers, in the next couple of years we should go 100% electric. We should then look at long distance transport, we should look at all these hard to abate sectors, make them go green, and we should ensure that all our electricity is renewable. And to my mind, India has a huge potential because one is that it has vast potential for pump storage, and pump storage will help us bring down the prices very, very sharply. So you link up renewable, you link up solar, you link up wind, you link up pump storage, and then do 24 into 7 renewable energy, which can then feed 24 into 7 into grid. The challenge with solar alone is that you will be able to do it when the sun is there, but balance of the time storage becomes very expensive. So in pump storage you are able to do 24 into 7.
Since you're emphasizing on new age infrastructure
Yeah.
for renewable energy, how can it really help India's overall energy and power sector? And in that, the role of public-private partnership.
So the private sector is really the key, because my belief is that India's climatic conditions are top class. No other country has similar climatic conditions. The only other country which has similar climatic conditions is probably Saudi Arabia. But India's climatic conditions are top class. Our entrepreneurship in this sector is absolutely brilliant. So not only the bigger players but younger players are top class. And therefore you will be able to spearhead this only with good private sector enterprise, which India has. And therefore I am a great believer that private public partnership is really the key towards decarbonizing all these sectors. The only challenge to my mind is your ability to get long-term financing. You need 25 to 30 years long-term financing. The hedging instruments are not available beyond 3 years, and therefore the world needs to do a lot of more blended finance. It needs to do a lot of credit enhancement.
What exactly is blended finance?
Blended finance is that you take money from World Bank, you take money from private sector and put it together. That will enable you to get funds at low rates. It's not that there is a shortage of money. There is a lot of money available with the private sector. So pension funds, institutional investors, all have money. But they say that the risks in some of these sectors is high, and therefore you need multilateral institutions like World Bank, their guarantee institutions like MEGA, to be able to ensure that a lot of money flows into countries like India. While our pollution is low right now, while our carbonization is low, but soon will become because we are industrializing now, we'll soon become the third most polluting country in the world, and therefore India needs a lot of support from the rest of the world in terms of long-term financing, and that is the key.
And are you of the opinion that the Amrit Kal budget, as it is being called, actually has prepared India for low carbon future?
I think this budget was a top class budget. It was a remarkable budget because it had the vision for taking India to green growth. And India, my belief always has been that India will grow till 2047 only if it goes digital and if it goes green. So the budget had a lot of emphasis on going digital. It had a lot of emphasis on going green. And green growth is really the key to our ability to produce green products and to be able to export to global markets. Because by 2026, many of these European countries will put border taxes, and you will be able to export steel only if they're green, if you are able to produce green steel. And you will be able to push your products only if they're green. They consume green energy. And that's why this was a remarkable budget.
And since our campaign is Sustainable Is Attainable with Tata Powers, so how are these groups placed in terms of ensuring India, because they have to be part of India's growth story, and what is the support that is being given by the government, and at the same time their role in the targets that have been set by the government for net zero?
So Tata Power has played a very key, a very critical and a very dynamic role in making itself a green company. It has gone in for renewables, it has gone in for microgrids in a very big way, and it has played a remarkable role in ensuring that we are able to do 24/7 renewable power. And I think as this company moves towards its green trajectory, it will play more and more critical role in battery storage, which it is doing now in partnership with Tata Motors. And to my mind, these companies will grow and expand, their valuation will rise, their ability to attract capital will rise. Every company getting into green areas, they are the ones which are going to attract value and capital.
So you are essentially painting a future in 2030 which is all green India.
Well, that should be our objective. That should be our objective if you need to grow at 8 to 9% per annum year after year. That will only happen, and your ability to attract capital from rest of the world, your ability to enhance the value of your companies, and your ability to get into sunrise areas of growth. We should never miss this opportunity to go electric. 80% of our vehicles are two-wheeler, three-wheelers. We should ensure that they go 100% electric. This is an opportunity for us to become the biggest producer of green hydrogen, the biggest exporter of green hydrogen to the rest of the world, and to become the biggest manufacturer of electrolyzer for the rest of the world. This is our opportunity to bring down the cost of renewables to its lowest prices, because you are climatically blessed and the policies by the government are well in place for all that.
On that note, we'll slip into a short break and continue this conversation with Amitabh Kant on our initiative with Tata Power, Sustainable is Attainable. Welcome back to this special episode of Sustainable is Attainable, an initiative of Network 18 and Tata Power. Mr. Kant, we are having this conversation in a very crucial year. Yeah. This is the year of India's G20 presidency. Mr. Kant, Vasudev Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future, is the theme of India's G20 presidency. How can India's power sector contribute towards what is being seen as a vision and also India's ability to lead the energy transition?
This theme of one earth, one family, one future, the Prime Minister's view was that irrespective of different geographical boundaries, irrespective of different political perspectives, we all come from one cosmos. We have one cosmic web, and that is why he's talked about one grid. That is why he pushed for one solar alliance, the International Solar Alliance from India. And that is why he says that actually we should look at it as one earth, and we are all part of one family. And this family will only flourish in the future if we are able to make it go green and make it grow digital. And therefore, sustainability will be the heart of everything that we do in future. Sustainability will be the key of India's growth story.
Since you're talking about sustainability, and again I'm going to refer to the campaign, which is Sustainable is Attainable. Mr. Kant, share your vision and also the roadmap on this entire journey that India has undertaken.
So my view is that by 2030, we should be the cheapest producer of green hydrogen in the world. We should have by then converted all our two-wheelers, three-wheelers into electric. We should have put in almost about 5 lakh of electric chargers all over the country. My view is that all the top 200 cities of India must become green cities of tomorrow, sustainable cities, much like what Indore and Surat have done. My view is that we should have pushed circular economy in a very big way so that it becomes a very integral part of our manufacturing process. And my view is that we would have done the energy transition towards greener forms of energy.
But that will require a concerted effort from several stakeholders. Do you have that support?
Well, the private sector has done very well in India. It's the private sector which has to do this. The policies are in place. Now, the Indian entrepreneurship, as I said, is top class. Our ability to attract capital will assist them, and that is why India is to become, we've done a lot of work in being an easy and simple destination, and I think it's incumbent upon the rest of the world to ensure that a vast amount of foreign direct investment flows into this sector. It's incumbent upon multilateral financial institutions to ensure that credit flows flow into these sectors to enable India to do that technological leapfrogging which is required for this.
Since the buzzword in this year has been about energy security, climate finance, work towards a circular economy and achieving SDGs, will you be able to bring all the nations, all the G20 countries on one table?
Of course. We'll do our best. We'll attempt our best. There are geographical complexities, there's the post-COVID era, there's a geopolitical challenge, you're facing financial crisis in America, a war going on for almost a year and a half, huge political differences. But nobody is better equipped than India to be able to do this, and we'll do our best.
What about how do you bring these issues center stage? We have seen what happened during the foreign ministers meet. When India's agenda is climate finance, energy security, there are other countries who have other issues on table. What are the point of convergences?
I think we've done remarkably well, both in the finance minister central bank governors meeting. We've done very well in the foreign ministers meeting. We were able to get consensus on all developmental issues. Never before this has happened. We were able to get consensus on a vast range of issues in the foreign ministers meeting, and this has been a remarkable achievement to my mind. Only on the Russia-Ukraine issue, there is a difference of perspective among some countries, but that is external to our scenario. I mean, that's an international geographical issue, a geopolitical issue, and we'll see how the situation pans out. In Bali, some agreement was arrived at, and I think we'll strive towards that as well. But on all, G20 is essentially a developmental forum. It's a growth forum. And on all developmental and growth issues, we've achieved huge success so far.
And India's vision is being supported by most countries.
By every single country. There's no difference of opinion on any of the developmental growth issues. There was all 20 countries have supported India on all growth issues, on all financial issues, on all developmental issues, on all issues of progress. No difference of opinion on any of these issues. If there's a difference of opinion of some countries on Russia-Ukraine issue, that's external to our scenario.
So India's net zero plans for 2030 and 2070, how many countries are on board, and what is the role of private sector in particular in this?
So the private sector role is critical, but so is the role of what the Prime Minister has termed as lifestyle for sustainability. He's talked about behavioral change. A recent study by International Energy, IEA, has highlighted that actually by doing behavioral change, you can bring down 20% of the emissions, 11% by sheer behavioral change, and 9% because of change in consumption pattern. And therefore, while countries may continue to make long-term commitments, it's individuals like you and me who will make a difference. And therefore, our behavioral change, nudging people into behavioral change, is critical for the future. And I think that is what India says, that we will green our economy, but let the world, the citizens of the world, go through a behavioral change as well.
What about Indian citizens' behavior?
They should all become pro-planet people. We should all, it's a part of our growing up process, it's a part of our ideology, it's a part of our very philosophy that we must give back to the earth everything that we have taken from it. And therefore, our belief is that every Indian will heed to the big vision of the Prime Minister of lifestyle for sustainability.
My last question, and of course this is a message that should come from you to the people at large about how do we make sustainable attainable?
Well, it's increasingly important and significant from three perspectives. It gives you a better quality of life. Secondly, you are giving back to the society what you have taken from it. And thirdly, I think it's increasingly will become fashionable for all of us to say that we are living in a sustainable world and we're doing everything that is sustainable. And fourthly, to my mind, circular economy will really be the key, that innovation, design, manufacturing will all have to be in circular manner, so that outputs from one product gets as an input into another product and so on. So the design principles will be then based on circular economy, and this will become imperative now.
Before I end this conversation, you have used a word fashionable for us to say so. Why do you think it's important to make it part of the conversation?
Because the younger generation is becoming increasingly conscious. My generation wasn't, but the younger generation is all realizing that the earth may survive, but human beings will go extinct if we do not bring the earth to net zero by 2050. And that would require that not only the developed countries which have carbonized the world, but even emerging markets actually play a critical role, because unless all of us work towards a net zero, they accelerate the pace of decarbonization, and we ensure that when we are industrializing without carbonizing.
And the role of the startups, because there are several new age infrastructure bodies, and because you talk about technologies, it has to assist us in this entire journey.
So a lot of innovation is happening in this area. A vast amount of innovation is happening across sectors: agriculture, health, innovation, storage, recycling of batteries, electric mobile manufacturing. Phenomenal amount of the kind of energy and dynamism and vibrancy you see in India, you will not see in any other part of the world. And these startups, with their innovation, with their vision, will dramatically alter the fortunes of India towards a sustainable nation.
Mr. Kant, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.